young, broke, homeless, and dumped by my girlfriend. That's the story of how I became an entrepreneur in the US. I had a really good life. I got my bachelor's in electrical engineering. I went to the University of Michigan for grad school, and then I worked for a Fortune 100 company for about 4 years. My salary was over $110K per year at 25. But that wasn't enough. It didn't make me feel fulfilled or happy. I had always been a risk taker. And after realizing that entrepreneurship was what I wanted to pursue, I quit my job without thinking twice. During my first 2 years of quitting, I had no income and was living off savings. When the going got tough, and it did, I would be forced to crash on friends' couches or sleep in my car when rain flooded everything outside, until finally making a home out of an old second-hand van that looked like crap. The only consolation I had left was to hug my pillow as hard as possible. I was born in South America, and my parents always told me that the American dream was just for rich people. I can't lie. We didn't live in a bad place, and our little apartment on the outskirts of town never had any issues with electricity or water. Of course, there were some days when my dad couldn't find work, so my mom would have to sell her chocolate bars to make ends meet. But when she wasn't working, she always took time to spend time with my sister and me. If you're enjoying this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to let me know. I will continue making more if people enjoy what they see. So, when I was just 5 years old, my life changed forever in an instant. My mother had a coffee maker that required some home assembly, and when I decided to take it on myself, sparks flew through the air like fireworks. Wanting nothing more than to see what caused such bright flashes of lightning, I took apart everything, only for them all to fall out onto the floor, sparking again. In the middle of all the sparks and fumes, I cried like a baby. That moment set me on a course for engineering, always thinking about how things work. My parents encouraged me to explore different fields, but I found myself drawn back to electronics every time. My dad took notice, and he helped me build my first circuit board when I was about 10 years old, which is when I knew I wanted to be an electrical engineer. I was an A student in elementary school and high school. One day, I was able to get a scholarship to learn English in New York for 3 months. My mom gave me all her savings and asked my long-distance cousin in the US if I could live with him for 3 months. He agreed, and so that's what happened. When I got there, it took me about a week to fully understand how the subway system works. Because, people were speaking all sorts of languages around me at all times. The first time I rode the subway, it felt like some sort of weird adventure game where you had to figure out what direction you were going according to which line goes up or down on the map before you miss your stop. I was 17 when I arrived in the US, and I didn't speak English. This encouraged me to keep learning the language and improve my writing and speaking skills. I remember one time a little girl approached me and asked me a question and pointed to a very old man sitting on the bench next to her, simply tired of waiting for someone else. Until this day, I have no idea what she said to me. I said to this little girl, "I don't speak English." But she did not respond. just smiled happily and walked away, with the man in her arm like he was as light as air. I was like, what just happened? At that moment, I told myself I needed to learn English as soon as possible. My cousin in New York was about 45 years old and had his own house in Brooklyn. He made a good living as a city employee. During my stay with him, I helped in his home every day. I took the trash out, cleaned the bathrooms and kitchen. I even helped paint his house. I thought I was doing a good job of taking care of my cousin's house. After 4 weeks in the US, it seemed like he and I were getting along well. But then, one night, he came home from work with a face that looked mad as hell. He told me to pack up my things because I had to leave his house immediately, without any explanation whatsoever. When I asked him what happened, he yelled at me that dreaming too high is not what most people do these days, and pressured me to become a plumber instead of becoming an engineer. I looked at my cousin with shock as he yelled, "Get out of my house! You are a useless person, you little piece of shit! Dream too high if you want to, but not in my house!" I was confused and shocked. I didn't know what to do. So as soon as he left the house, and while trying very hard not to have tears in my eyes from his words that hurt me deeply, I packed up all my things into one bag and left my cousin's house. This moment in life helped me realize that you can't give up on your dreams just because some people refuse to believe in you. Don't let the negative things that have happened in your life stop you from fighting for something that is worth it. I'm not the type of person who likes to talk about my struggles publicly. It's very hard for me to open up, and I know that my story is not as difficult as others you may have heard before. Still, I think it's important to let you know that you are not alone, and there is always hope. So there I was, sitting on the subway with my 2 suitcases and crying. I didn't know anyone in this country besides my cousin. It was 3 a.m., and several hours had passed since I was kicked out of my cousin's house. Luckily, a friend of a friend found me and asked if she could help. She offered to let me stay at her place until I found something better so that I wouldn't be homeless while abroad. What do you think so far about my story? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Commenting is not required, but I rely heavily on your feedback. So if my story interests you, you should continue watching. So where was I? Oh, okay. So the next day, I had to put myself together. Persistence and patience were my strongest virtues. I believe this issue with my cousin changed the course of my life and made me study English 24/7. As I kept learning English, I realized that I might have a fair chance to study engineering in the US. So I made myself a promise that if I could pass my English courses, I could take the SAT and apply to MIT. That week, I even took a train from New York City to Massachusetts and toured one of the main MIT electrical engineering labs. It was a unique and indescribable experience. For a moment in a long time, I felt powered by desire and motivation. I couldn't understand a word of what the tour lady was saying, but I didn't really care. I remember when we walked into this huge room with all these cool-looking instruments and electronics. My eyes were wide open because that's how excited they were. When she started opening all those cabinets, I felt like a little kid in a candy store. Gosh, this motivated me even more to become an engineer. Some people think that when you work hard and persist, it will all be for nothing. But in reality, if you stick with your dreams until they become a reality, or at least close to being one, then the end result is satisfying because of what has been accomplished along the way. Persisting through challenges builds character and resilience, which are invaluable traits whether someone wants to pursue entrepreneurship or any other career path. So let me tell you guys, persistence pays off. A few days before I was due to head back to my home country, I decided to take the TOEFL exam, which is an English admission test for foreigners. The day of the exam, I took the train from Brooklyn to Manhattan and arrived at my school 10 minutes before the test. By 6 p.m., my classmates were already there, so we talked about how nervous we were. Each one of us had studied hard for months. The test was almost 4 hours long and a bit hard, I remember. After finishing the test, I took the 12 a.m. train back to Brooklyn, and I decided it was time for me to finally have some fun in America. If you're enjoying my video, make sure to like it and subscribe to let me know. I'll continue making more if people enjoy what they see. So if my story interests you, you should continue watching. So that day, I got up early at 7 a.m. and went straight downtown with only $99 worth of money, which was more than enough to visit a few attractions and have a full long sandwich from Subway. Yes. Back in the old days, Subway was my favorite restaurant. After having a blast and spending all my last $99, I went back home. For most people, the anticipation of waiting for exam results to come in is agonizing. I was no exception, and burst into tears when my result came back with a lower than the minimum score for MIT's admission requirement. The following month, however, I decided that it wouldn't be right if this setback could stop me. So with renewed vigor, I studied for a month for the SAT. And in December 2008, I applied to 3 universities: University of Idaho, University of Mississippi, and University of New Mexico. 7 months later, all 3 accepted me into their electrical engineering program with almost full-ride scholarships. This experience taught me that you need to forget all of the negative things that have happened to you. Don't give up on your dreams and aspirations just because your family and friends don't believe in you, or refuse to take no as an answer when faced with adversity. After I got accepted, my family was extremely excited and happy. My whole life changed in an instant, but it came with a little of an inconvenience. A travel visa was required for me to enter the U.S., and although I had a scholarship, the U.S. Embassy required me to show I had $30,000 in my bank, which was money I didn't have. Since neither my parents nor I had that much money, I struggled for a few weeks debating, how will I be able to apply for my U.S. visa? I have always been an ambitious person by nature, and I believe that has led to my success. In my next videos, I will show you how I was able to come to the U.S., graduate from an elite school, get a great job, become homeless for a bit, fail in various businesses, succeed in others, and just give you the real truth about being an entrepreneur, the good and the bad. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video. With your support, this channel can continue making more content that will brighten your day. I hope it was informative and enjoyable. Every like and subscribe is appreciated. I'll see you all in part 2.